You bring somebody in new and you tell them the main thrust is you've got to do the marketing, and then in the evening we teach, we have no problem. They do it. It's the ones that have been there for a good while that are kind of set in their ways that are a little lazy in doing those things. So you either have to actually go with them to do it, or what I did, I got tired of messing with them. I just hired one person to do that. And it was one of our black belt moms. And she's around 40 years old. She has 2 kids that are both black belts. So what a great testimonial she is. One of her kids is one of our assistant instructors at 15. And so her job is I give her the list each day of what she has to do in marketing. And her goal is to hit a certain number. We have to have a certain number of leads. We have to have a certain number of appointments, a certain number of enrollments, and that's all based on her doing her job that I'm lining out for. Now, I have to point her in the right direction. I have to talk to her on a daily basis to see what she did, because if you leave people out there to do that and you don't follow up on it, it doesn't get done. But when they know you're checking with them, then they're going to go do these things. So every day, how successful is your marketing going to be if every day somebody's out there doing all of this stuff that needs to be done during the daytime? Now, that's our external marketing. Then we have an internal marketing that we do during business hours that has to be done at the school. So you're actually marketing all the time, because we're either marketing for new enrollments or we're marketing for what? Upgrades. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have a renewal than an enrollment. But we can't have a renewal without an enrollment. We know that an enrollment is worth around $3,000, whereas an upgrade, one person, is worth around $15,000 to $20,000. A family is worth about $40,000. So how important is a family?
By the
If
way,
we can get them
aside, does that number boggle anybody's mind? So you got to get over that, right? You got to get over that, because if you're fishing in the right pond, bringing quality people in, there's no reason they won't pay $500 a month. Extrapolate that out to they're going to be with you to black belt, second degree black belt. How much does that end up being, right? So if it's $300 a month, $3,600 a year for 5 years, what's that? 18,000, right? I mean, it's not hard to get to those numbers, and it's not hard to get the ones who renew to be very valuable. The ones that don't renew, it's harder. And again, go back to Penny's question earlier. We've followed the numbers. In fact, we got into an argument at one of the meetings about 3 meetings ago. But I've followed the numbers extensively. Once we get somebody renewed, the dropout rate goes to about 1/3 of 1%, where it was 4 or 5% before. So, yeah.
You know, that family of 3 and 4. One of the things that I had a little trouble when I first joined forces with Master Oliver and started doing exactly everything he was doing, exactly the way we were doing.
We about converting a dinosaur.
Number one was rotating curriculum. Please, I was stuck on that traditional style of, you have to teach a green belt stuff and a blue belt stuff, and so it took me a while, even though I'd seen a lot of my friends convert
2 years
over.
To want to understand it.
Well, it's the old expression, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And then I decided that it wasn't broke, but there's a better way.
Would you ever go back?
No. And once I did it, and I heard people tell me that, once you do it, you won't go back. But once you do, you won't. You'll be glad you did it quickly. But the real key there is, if you have your students going through the cycles of the upgrade, and you've got one student, you get a family of 2. And in Master Oliver's schools, if 2 people sign up, the rest of the family is free. And I could never comprehend that. And I was going, well, then we got 5 people. Well, the advantage of 5 people is now those 2 people, those 2 people are paying $595 a month for a family plan for 2 people. So 5 people, they pay, do the math quick. 5 people pay Say it again. Hey, now instead of $595 for two, which now they're figuring I got to pay $300 a month, the families are easy to upgrade. So all we got to do is get them on that basic program, get two in there, then we tell when we go to upgrade them, Mom and Dad, you're free anyway.
And now we're now on a massive tangent. So let's try to hone us back into our direction here. The marketing principle, by the way, and we're really going to try to stay on improve value, but get a flood of people in. And the mission is 100 new people in 6 weeks when you go back, right? So the principle, by the way, here is an awful lot of schools, most schools do a horrible job of family add-ons as well, right? And in targeting the kids market, we find that between 50 and 60% of the kids, we can get one or both parents in the class. And of those, it's about 80% moms, okay? Now, you can't do that with mom comes Tuesday, Thursday at 8 p.m., and Billy comes Monday, Wednesday at 6:15, and Susie, the younger sister, comes in Wednesday, Friday at 5. See, because your biggest objection of all of your students who are properly qualified, you've got to write this down because it's important. The biggest objection you have, enrollment or renewal, is not money. It's time. The biggest problem in U.S., Australia, New Zealand, well, a lot of sheep tenders still, but we'll pass it on to Grant. But the biggest problem is they're busy. And especially if you draw them from much of a radius, a lot of your areas have a lot of traffic, right? So mom is not going to sit in traffic 6 days a week so that she and the two kids can come to class. But if they all come down together, you're fine. And imagine if you go from on average enrolling one person in the family to on average having 3 people in the family, what a difference that makes in elevating it. And again, the thing that we're very focused on is whether we have 1 or 2 kids, we want mom to be in there with them, right? Again, 80% of the decision is mom. If mom is in class with the kids, are the kids going to drop out? No. Are they going to be easy to renew? Yes. So it's a very important consideration. And again, we've got more female school owners is probably represented in the industry as a whole, although it's changing dramatically. But for all the guys, most of your marketing is to women. And so don't assume that you've got the deal down, right? You've got to realize that for the kids, you're marketing to mom. Obviously for the adult women, you're marketing to the women. Even for some of the guys, you're marketing to the wife or girlfriend as well as to him. So you've got to get good at that. It's if you look at major companies like Kia or Cadillac, that's been their turnaround. All the car companies were dominated by men who were in their 60s. And they were marketing to men like them and falling flat on their face. Cadillac got a young gal in there as the head of marketing who's doing a fabulous job marketing Cadillacs to women because that's who was making the buying decision anyway, right? By the way, there's only one car, the Pantheon, where the woman has essentially 0% input. Do you know what that is statistically by the studies? Porsche 911 it's 100% a male decision, almost 100%. I just because I've driven a bunch of Porsches, I think it's entertaining. What's that? Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But anyway, so let's go back to direct mail here because it is something you've got to get really good at. My guess is hardly anybody in the room is doing a good job at it. Is that a fair assumption? Okay. So the way you get good at it in part is you get comfortable with spending a lot more money per lead than you're comfortable with now, or that you're comfortable with even after I walk you through the numbers rationally. Emotionally, you've got to get detached from being freaked out about that. Does that make sense? And overall, from a standpoint of improving your net profit, and most of the big schools, when I've looked at your P&Ls, fit in this category. Just about everybody in this industry make these mistakes. They spend too much money on rent, which, by the way, if you got a location like Chris over here where he's next to the Costco and they come flooding in, that's marketing expense. Okay, that's okay. But most people spend too much money on rent in part because we all want to build a Taj Mahal for ourselves, right? So we end up with this big elaborate facility that isn't facilitating what we want to accomplish. Again, if you're next to Chuck E. Cheese, money well spent probably. If you're next to Costco, money well spent probably. But if it's not creating a flow of traffic, it's just square footage, right? And again, one of the most profitable schools I've ever seen was in the basement underneath a coffee shop. Literally, you walked in the hallway to go to the coffee shop, and there was a door over there, and you went in the basement. And he had it's Kaffner. He had 8,000 square feet, but it was cheap rent. And the results was his marketing. The second thing that most big schools make a mistake of is they have too many people on payroll and too few good ones. So you end up with a whole bunch of dunces running around, and I don't mean that too harshly. You end up with a whole bunch of really skilled martial artists who aren't out beating the bushes for new students, aren't great at making the sale, and perhaps aren't even the superstar instructor that everybody gravitates to, right?
Yeah, you have to have.
You don't need to turn it off, just leave.
I was waiting for the red light to turn green.
Okay.
You need to have the staff that are generating gross. The problem is most schools have staff that think their job is just to teach the class, and they're not selling the program in the class. You have to realize just like a first intro is selling the program. We don't sell the program from the office to get them to sign up. Everything is done in the first or second class, and at worst case scenario, the third class. They're already sold when they walk in. We just got to show them what kind of payment plan they want to do it on.
Yeah.
That has to be the thing. Well, that's the same process with the enrollment, with the renewal or the upgrade. So if your staff that you have out there are not facilitating that, and they're not targeting those people that you want to upgrade, then they're just teaching classes. And that's worth just an hourly job. That's not worth anybody getting a base salary or commission or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone like me, I've only been over a year and a half. Where do I get staff? I mean, my highest ranking belt is 9 years old.
Right,
Right. It's like, I know I have someone to develop, but.
Well, it's a more expansive topic that we can go over tomorrow. But an awful lot of what we're talking about doesn't need to be a martial artist, right? And so he talked about how we used to have, we had several in series, none of whom had taken a day of martial arts class in their life, as I recall. Oh yeah, we could tell her story too. But one of them I had hired from a major textbook publisher. His job had been to go into middle schools and high schools and sell the parents on this elaborate series of books and videos. And I hired him straight from them and put him into handling for 6 locations. We had about 20 elementary schools per location that we were working on, plus maybe 5 middle schools. So he had 25 schools per location times 6, and his job was only and exclusively 40 hours a week to work with the elementary schools, and he would rotate in a 6-week cycle between our locations. So a lot of those kind of roles, marketing person, salesperson, and so forth, you don't need that. The others, obviously, you should be developing from within. And again, it's a longer topic that we you get to tomorrow. We can do it on a teleconference. But you can do an accelerated training process to ramp up instructors as well. We, for years when we needed it, were running a 6-week accelerated training program where we could ramp up instructors in 6 weeks rather than in 5 or 6 years. So, and I can walk you through that. Fred, you did quite a bit of that.
Yes, I took you out to Arizona.
Exactly.
We did it like 3 months, 4 hours a day of training.
Yeah, it always annoyed me because we went to that educational funding company convention and I created the idea and you got the damn award because I was not politically correct enough. Is that it? Okay.
You did it better.
We can argue about that, but it's irrelevant. Yes.
Do you charge them for that program?
Let's get into that tomorrow, if at all. The answer is yes, no, and maybe. There are several different tracks you can run on something like that and do that. The Carol story, you mean finding the guy? Did he work out?
Well, not so far.
Not so far.
He didn't come when he had an appointment. And
Okay.
it turns out he's homeless, but so what? But he might come.
Yeah. So we won't tell that story.
Or a commission, or how do you structure something like that when they're not in your school to
student
Oh,
on a break or something?
when they're not in your school to be a volunteer?
Right.
Yeah, you pay them. You pay them. Yeah, we'll move this to tomorrow so we can stay on track.
On the marketing topic, since,
Yeah,
and I'm the
yeah.
worst at getting off topic.
Yeah, but no kidding. But bringing it in, all that is easily solved. Okay.
Mass marketing?
No. The inside joke is, we have, when we took over the company, we had a video library that's probably from like where those walls are across the room, thousands of hours of stuff, right? And if you then go through the library, which is part of the reason I wanted to purchase the company from Century, you go through the library, in most general terms, the video library from a business standpoint, marketing, sales, high-level business stuff, was mostly between crap and total crap. On the other hand, the library from the standpoint of high-level martial artists teaching high-level martial arts stuff is a lot of great stuff, right? A lot of good teaching stuff. And so from the standpoint of us, top 1% or top 5% looking to video content, it was kind of like, let's just set a fire to all that stuff and give up, right? Is that a fair statement, Toby? Slightly, probably understated. But now we have hundreds of hours of like me and him. And Toby and Merrick are the ones who are going through the raw footage going, what the hell was that topic? Because he did 10 minutes on this, then went over here and did 15 minutes on here. And he's at the behind the scenes going, well, I got a transcript. Do I cut it into 3 pieces and make it 10 shorts? Or do I like make up a topic and hope that they figure it out when they watch it?
Because if somebody has a question,
That's completely off topic and unrelated to direct mail.
You hate to cut them off, but we
But,
gotta at least keep them in topic.
But so
And we got at least when they raise their hand once in a while, when they've had it for a long time, and they have a.
Yeah.
Do you have to go to the bathroom? You have a question?
Yeah. But let's. Amago.
Was number 3 of the big mistakes they're not spending enough on marketing?
Well, yes, but I didn't finish number 2 actually. Number 2 is, which is how we got off on all this stuff.
Thanks for bringing us back on topic.
Number 2 is, which how we got off on this stuff, is having too much head count of too many technical martial arts types and too few really good people who are getting compensated highly. See, if you have somebody who's a gym, their retention is fabulous, their renewal rate is fabulous on the floor, or they're out beating the bushes all the time and you're drinking from a fire hose, they should be making a lot of money. They should be making, plus or minus 20% any other opportunity. I'd rather it be 20% better than the other opportunity. Because again, I mean, you're lucky if you keep them for a couple years anyway, much less you're trying to do the old stupid martial arts thing of getting them to volunteer and do it because they like you and they love the thing. Because that really doesn't last very long, right? So they should be making plus or minus their other opportunities. On the other hand, if they know your moves and the forms and they can teach the choke or the kick and stuff, well, that's not very, it's not hard, and it's not a very valuable position. So that's number 2 is having too many people who aren't very good. The MMA change in the industry that's been detrimental is people going back to the fitness center model, and now they got 10 part-time instructors. And all of a sudden you have all these people running around who aren't getting 4 or 5 hours a week of staff training, who aren't held accountable for retention rates and renewal rates, who could give a rat's ass what the gross is of the school. And that's just death, right? In your case, that's you got a whole bunch of dance instructors who could care less, but they come in and they teach their little pirouette and stuff and think that that's the deal, right? Crystal has the same problem. All these different Muay Thai guys, and they're real tough, rough, and nasty and so forth, but none of them are held accountable for the thing. And in many cases, they're making $200,000 a year doing something else in there as a hobby. You can't build a real business around that, right? So in the fitness model, is you'd have 22 aerobics classes. I used to manage fitness there. 22 aerobics classes, doesn't matter, is you have 10 different instructors and everybody comes to Susie's class and nobody comes to John's class, and you try to replace John and get another one. But in our model, that just doesn't work very well because the value per student is not high if they're not accountable for retention and renewals and so forth. The third thing is underspending on marketing, and you're exactly right. Yeah, we're down to, up to number 3. And the main thing about that is you want to not be thinking about you're trying to rifle shot or you're trying to, get on a megaphone and get people to pay attention in the cacophony of the daily life. What you're looking for is somebody who's raised their hand a little bit, who's expressed some level of interest. Then you do massive effort to get them pulled in. And you can go through with direct mail to do lead gen. We're going to do for NAPNA. I mean, the industry is 15,000 schools. We're going to rake across the industry again with lead generation stuff just to get them to raise their hand. On the other hand, we have about 1,600 schools that have raised their hand a little bit. We're going to spend 20 times per person on those than we will on the others. One group we're willing to spend $1.50, the other we're willing to spend $28, right? I mean, that gives you a sense, right? So mostly you want to be constantly looking for people who have expressed a little bit of an interest. And being part of an affinity group is a great start. 3 of my 3 other girls in my Girl Scout troop are in there already. It's easy to get Susie to come join, the other 2 girls. A bunch of my 3rd grade class are in there already. It's easy to get her to come in and do that because she's already going to feel comfortable. So the more you can look at affinity groups, once you get them a little bit interested, spend a lot of time and effort on them, you're much better off, right? And I hate to say it this way, I mean, because like I'm the guru of copywriting and all this stuff for the industry, but really it's more about saturation bombing than it is about everything being perfect. Because you're never going to craft exactly the right message for each and every one of them, but if you stay in front of them a lot, either with like big full color postcards that gets their attention, or bank bag, priority mail, squirt gun, stuff like that, that is really a big chunk of the battle. Yes?
That's kind of what my question has to do with. When we're designing the website, we have 3 different options on these pages, and then we distinguish this flow after those based on whether they're interested in the kids or the fitness or whatever other program is. Do you guys do the same thing with your direct mail? You distinguish, like somebody contacts you about kids classes, you have specific direct mail?
Yes. Yes.
Good point.
Yes, good point. I guess I didn't say that, but absolutely. Once you know who and what they are, right, so if you have women looking for a fitness class, you only want to be showing them that stuff. And, I've heard people make the opposite excuse. Well, I put the cardio kickboxing and the kids picture and this and that because she has a husband, might be interested in this, she has kids. No, whatever they raise their hand that they're interested in, I want to focus only on that. Now I find that Susie's a 35-year-old mom who has a 4-year-old. I'll work to get the 4-year-old in, or vice versa. I get the child in, and I'll work to get mom added on. But all of the follow-up should be rifle shot, right? Now I've seen some people try to make it be, I'm targeting 4-year-olds, I'm targeting 6-year-olds, I'm targeting 9-year-olds. That may be too much. Because what happens if you make it complicated, you don't do anything, right? And arguably you can automate some of the complication, but really you want to rifle shot down to the major subgroups and get out to them a lot. And by the way, an easy way to automate direct mail is to put it in a rotating curriculum. Now here's what I mean by that, is you have 4 months worth of pieces, let's say twice a month. So you have 8 things. So you do, in September, you do this piece, then this piece, October, you do this piece and this piece, and you just keep rotating it through and then start over. And you don't worry about when the lead came in. It's, if they're getting a piece of mail in October, they get this, and everybody in the lead, what some people do is they try to get too analytic and say, well, I'm doing this sequential autoresponder thing with email. They get number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm going to do the same thing with direct mail. And as soon as you do that, you pull your hair out and you do nothing. Okay? Don't do that. Just make it simple. everybody in the lead database who's a kid is going to get this piece this month. Everybody who's an adult male looking for this thing gets this piece, and make it as simple as humanly possible.
And that's all, maybe the other way to say all of that
Yeah.
is that the website is just another medium. It's
Yes.
the exact same strategy. Everything else is the same strategy, the website, the same strategy, telephone, the same strategy.
Yeah, don't miss that. There's no damn difference. Back when I did that like extraordinary marketing program, at some point or another, the file of the original letter got lost. That I had really sweat blood to write, and had done all the the trauma about putting it together. It was like really the first time that I had spent a lot of time on that, other than like karate lessons. Somewhere along the line, the file got lost. There was a flood on the hard drive and it got trashed or something like that. So what I started doing is just printing off the web page and mailing them the printout of the web page. It worked just as well, if not a little bit better. It just didn't make any difference, right? The only difference between a website and a physical delivery is just getting in front of them in a slightly different way, right? See, you can say, well, I don't need to do snail mail anymore because online video is great and I can drive them to an online video. Unless you can't get them to click the link. And now I mail them a DVD. Can I get them to watch the DVD? And like we have an introductory package, it's pretty elaborate, but it's, let's say, 40 pages of color printed material, an audio CD, and a DVD. And I've heard some feedback. Tim Kovar's comment when he saw it is, well, it's awfully redundant. And my comment was, that's exactly the way it was designed. You know why? In my family, what would happen would be, if it was for my 10-year-old daughter, she's now 11, she would run home and watch the DVD with mom. There's no way on heaven or earth you'd ever get me to sit down for 45 minutes and watch the DVD. If it doesn't have bikini babes, helicopters, and a lot of people die, $100,000 production value, I'm not watching it, okay? So you're not going to get me to watch a sales pitch on video. However, the CD, I'll put it in a CD player and drive around town and listen to it. You would never get my 11-year-old and her mom to listen to that. They've got Disney Channel on in the car, and they're going to be listening to Disney Channel. No way they're going to listen to talking in the car. You would get mom to read through the booklet. You'd get me to read through the booklet. So if you have that package and you just delivered a DVD, I'm never going to watch it. So part of the reason you do multiple media is to hit different learning styles and different personality styles. Part of the reason you make it redundant is so that you get the message across whatever piece of it I do. The other part of it is if you send me a link to an MP3, even though I'd be willing to pull it out and put the thing in my car, I'm not going to download it to my iPhone, hook my iPhone up, and play the iPhone in the car, because I'm just not going to go to that much effort. Right? You're not going to get me to do that. So the MP3 link on the website right now doesn't replace an audio CD, even though most music now is shifting to being online download. Does that make sense? A web video, you might get me to watch that before a DVD, but it doesn't replace mailing a DVD, because a whole lot of people won't watch it online, right? And again, my daughter, she wouldn't watch the video online, but she would put the DVD player into the DVD player in her elaborate TV in her room and would watch it. And then she'd hook mom in and they'd sit down and watch it together, right? So you've got to be aware of all those dynamics before going to the cheap and easy source, right?
The reasons why I started doing text messaging. So many people use that media now, with the iPhones and all the other phones people are doing, it's got video on it. So when you send them a text message, they can actually see a live video, and they see your actual your commercial. I mean, you put whatever commercial you want on it.
You can put a YouTube link, yeah.
Yeah, you just link it right into one of your ads. And it's the same thing when you get an info call at the school. You're not just going to talk to them about kids, or you're not going to talk to them about adults, or you're going to find out why. And that's the same thing that your lead information that you have should have already defined for you, so you know where to put them. And it's the same thing when you're doing an info call. You can't have one generic info call. You have to find out exactly why they want, and then that's what you've got to emphasize on the call and the purpose for getting them in.
Yeah, but to reemphasize a minute ago, if you had 10 hours of testimonials on the little camera that cost $200. You can now do a rough edit down to a real nice hour. Now that real nice hour, you pull the audio track off and you've got a CD. You do hard cuts together, nothing elaborate, and you've got a DVD. You do a transcription of it. In fact, I do a transcription of all 10 hours. But you do a transcription of it. You've got a package that you can give people in writing. Now you've got the same content is on the website in video. The same content can be on the website in audio, although there's not a lot of argument for that. Mostly you'd put it up on video, right? The same content can be up and written, so you can be page after page after page on your website of testimonials. The best example of that is or at least it used to be, was EAS. If you look at when Bill Phillips ran EAS, and it was located just a few blocks from here, is what did you see? If you opened his book, it was the entire liner was testimonials. You opened any of the product, it was all testimonials. It was all before and after photos. If you went to their website, it was thousands upon thousands of testimonials. That's because really that's what works, right? Have you guys seen the Blue Blocker sunglass commercials? I don't think he's been running it for a while, but Silverman was the direct response marketer. He created the company that was before Sharper Image and all that stuff. And then he did the sunglasses. And their infomercial and their short form spots were literally a camera crew walking down the street, and he would grab somebody, put on the glasses and say, "What do you think?" And they go, "Oh, wow, this is so cool that I would never have thought," right? And then they say, "Well, how much do you think they are?" "Oh, these must be what, $250, $300? "No, for now you can get them for $24, right? I mean, that was the entire commercial, is walking. It was one of the most successful commercials in history. I mean, they did millions of dollars of cheap sunglasses imported from Taiwan, strictly based upon that. So, that's the thing that you want to put it all together. But anyway, so go back to direct mail. Think in terms generally of, there's a couple of different things that you can put in the mail. One thing that you can put in the mail at the high end is send it by FedEx, and the guy walks it up in the truck and has them sign for it. For a normal, like, consumer, get a new student in, normally I wouldn't go to that extent. I might do a fake express mail envelope, or I might put it in a priority mail envelope, which is about $5 to mail. But
priority local is next day.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all next day.
Yeah. Well, and for the average consumer, a big priority mail envelope and a FedEx isn't much different, right? Yes?
Same thing with upgrade information?
Oh, absolutely. Even more so, right? I mean,
We have a special ninja delivery.
no, seriously.
No,
He's
we
not
really
joking.
do. And we have a video of it, and we play that to school too. We have one of our junior instructors. She's 13, and she has a full ninja
He's not joking. No.
leotard ninja thing, and she brings this gift basket up to the front door, rings the doorbell, and then runs off. But strategically enough so they open the door and they see her going off. And then we video it while she's going up there. And it has the DVD for the black belt upgrade. It has a T-shirt. It has a our Mile High water bottle. It has little gifts like popcorn, so they can eat the
They've got
popcorn
the
while
DVD,
they're watching the DVD.
of a liter of soda, popcorn, and it says "Make a family night" and watch the
And
DVD.
we used to do soda, but that's kind of
Well, that's
taboo.
true, so you
We
gotta
actually do Gatorade now because
well, you got to
most
do
of the
what
kids.
the red one that's sugar free or
We
whatever.
do two. Yeah, we do two different. We do depending on
red
if it's a
and blue.
family, we'll have two of each things in there. If it's for a family that of two, if there's a family of three, then there's three of each thing in the gift basket.
And by the way, he's not joking.
no, I mean,
Right? I mean, and, Carol, when she walked in, we said before, she walked in and they had just written a $25,000 contract, $8,000 down payment.
did we
What was
find
it?
that video for you to show you?
Oh, you never saw
They
the
were
conference?
pulling it up to show you because we have it on video there. It's so
But
funny.
what was it, $500 a month?
$5.95 a month.
Yeah, $595 a month with $8,000 down. Now, for $8,000 down and $597 a month, were you willing to do a few things like that? Oh, yeah. And if you were enrolling consistently 20 students a month and were renewing 87% of them, in other words, you're renewing 17, 18 of them a month.
And by the way, that wasn't a one-day renewal. It wasn't like we just walked to them. You've been recommended for black belt, and we want to talk to you about the black. Do you have a minute? Come on in. Let me give you the prices. No. We have Our intro, if it takes 2 or 3 lessons to sign them up on an intro, then it's going to take anywhere from 5 to 10 special sessions that we do, the way we structure it out to get them up to that level. But now we got us off track again. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's the question he asked is, do you do this kind of direct mail to an upgrade prospect? Absolutely. But, I mean, when we do a renewal blitz, and what I mean by that is like the new people who come into Inner Circle and Peak Performers, as you know, if I've got, and I'm going to beat Mike Ferreira till he's deaf and dumb if he doesn't get going on this. Well, he's got a good excuse. His grandmother is undergoing her 3rd back surgery. She's, it's touch and go with that kind of major surgery. He has a real good reason for not being here. So, but he's got 135 people he can renew. Of the 135 people he can renew, worst case, he should get 65 or 70 of them. And he hasn't launched, which like drives me crazy because anytime somebody leaves $250,000 on the table, when it's like that easy, it's like me yelling at your guys, right? It just drives me crazy. But
that's how we changed December from, it used to always be the worst month till, 25, 30 years ago. I changed it into the best month every year.
But in a renewal blitz, let's take 6 weeks. I will mail to them 3 times a week. And some of the packages will be 100 pages of testimonials. It'll be all of the essays from the last black belt test with pictures of everybody. It'll be, so stuff like that. I mean, they'll get like this big package, and then 2 days later they get another big package, and another days later they get another big package, and all the same stuff. We've got the big package I'm handing to every parent who's sitting on the benches and telling them to read it while they're sitting on the bench, and then we'll pull them together and do his ninja thing with the DVD. That's a new innovation, but see, I mean, when the value is high enough, you can do all kinds of stuff to get their attention, right?
Get parents involved. I'm just thinking of sending them a geek.
Oh, well, no. Jonathan is doing he's got like a little miniature gi that has their school logo and it's in the right color. Who was the supplier on that? Do you remember? Was it Century? He has a little, like a miniature blue top with a little, embroidered logo that, shows up in a package with a little presentation, like we do the blue top. Here's your blue top. Now come in and talk about getting one that will actually fit better. I'm dead serious, right? So yeah, all of this stuff is even more so, right? It's even also more so in reactivation, right? See, so
Everybody forgets about marketing. If you're going to market for a new student to come in to spend, $2 to $3 grand, why would you not market heavily? I mean, even more heavily for somebody to spend 20 to 30 grand.
Mm-hmm. Well, and once they're in the program and they faded away, why wouldn't you spend the same amount of effort to get them back? And I've heard people say, well, I wouldn't do that for a paid in full because I don't want to be in front of them and have them ask for a refund or something. No. That's the wrong way of thinking. What I want to do is I want to go off the ledge doing everything, including show up at their doorstep and knock at their doorstep to get them back in class, right? Because one, if they paid in full, I mean, I've got a moral obligation to get them to black belt, right? If they're paying monthly, they're not going to keep paying for very long if they're not coming to class. Either way, I want to get them back in class. And the stuff I showed you, the example I was using was summer reactivation. Kid's been gone to grandmother's for a month and hasn't been in, mail them the big thing with the squirt gun in it, and then mail them the boomerang thing, and then mail them the magnifying, we've been looking for you, and then mail them the plastic bugs, hate to bug you. I mean, all of that kind of stuff. And it's all cute and humorous and nutsy, but it's cute and humorous and nutsy that gets their attention. Right? I mean, you can send them a big form that looks like it's from a law firm and it's, squared off on both sides and it's formal language. Nobody's going to read that, right? But this stuff, they go, holy crap, what's that, right? Even better, have the squirt gun, with water in it and have it plastic laminated pages and it's leaking out of the envelope. I mean, right? I mean, think about that, right?
If they aren't sold on the program, if you didn't get them to see the value, the real value of your program, nobody's going to put down $8,000. And you saw that contract, and why would they put $8,000 down? Because they're going to do it. And they might, and when they put more down, we give them a little break on the price. people like to save money. And if they've got money sitting in an account, drawing a 0.5% interest or 1%, why not if they can save some money? I have some school owners that tell me, well, I don't like I just like to do monthly payments. I don't like to get any paid in fulls. And that was because when I used to work with one of the guys in the industry,
It's not in a billing company's best interest to not be collecting their
how
percentage.
can
But
they
anyway,
be a
back
billing
to
company if they don't have anybody to bill?
back to our subject matter. And the paid in full will benefit you in an inverse correlation to your retention, but in almost all cases, if it's a 6-month or 12-month paid in full, it doesn't do you much good because in almost all cases you're going to have them there that long anyway. But if it's a 36-month, 48 months, 72 months, you got to look at your legalities. But a lot of times we do paid in fulls to second-degree black belt. So then, one, it keeps them longer because they don't ever drop out because of financial reasons. And two is, on average, compared to not doing that, we generate a lot more revenue. Going back to direct mail, so same thing is true for reactivation. Same thing is true for renewals. And the thing is you've got to get wildly creative on this stuff. Now, none of it costs much money. See, that's the thing I want you to anchor in, right? I can, when I sent them a big priority mail envelope with a plastic squirt gun, it was the postage that cost me the most money, right? I mean, priority mail envelope, that's $5. Yeah, the squirt gun was 49 cents, I think. You can go through Oriental Trading and come up with all kinds of stuff, and including, by the way, promoting a buddy day. So let's say that I have a special theme and it's Olympics Buddy Day. Well, you can buy cheap Olympic-looking medals and all kinds of things that are themed that way. It's July 4th. You can come up with all kinds of things. That's what Oriental Trading is fabulous for. You can come up with all kinds of things like that. We have other suppliers that can come up with all this stuff that you can actually use as the envelope that's crazy looking.
We
But
get a lot of stuff at Dollar Tree and
Yeah.
Party Store or Party City.
You know what? I bought at Dollar Tree. Although dragging me in there is a nightmare. But I was drug into the dollar store, and they had stickers for $1 a sheet that were Disney stickers, and they also had Army stickers that were $1 a sheet. So for $1, you got like 20 stickers. Since we're all going to Disney in October, now you're going to get the envelope with the Mickey sticker. That's a dimensional sticker on the outside of the envelope that cost me $22 a sheet, $1 a sheet, a nickel a piece for the sticker, but nobody's going to ignore the envelope with the dimensional Mickey or Goofy on the envelope, right? Who in here at one time or another got the Mrs. Fields cookie basket from me? See, if you went to one of those little regional seminars we did with YK Kim, and it looked like from your information sheet you had a pulse, right? And now, what I mean by that is anybody who is grossing less than usually $15,000 a month, or anybody who just couldn't put together an articulate sentence. I didn't spend $50 on cookies for them. But if they had a decent gross, or like in your case, you're in transition, but he's going to set the world afire once he gets going, right? So I look at it, he's got a good background, entrepreneurial, one thing or another. So you got cookies, right? Oh, good, see?
Now, you guys that did get cookies, don't be offended.
Don't be offended, just means you didn't have a pulse. Who in here got a money tree? Anybody get a money tree? You got a money tree. Does that get your attention? It's like, what the hell is this damn thing, right? What's that? Hasn't bloomed? It hasn't started drawing. What? Oh, you got the little skeleton. That's from Oriental Trading. You know what he's talking about? In Oriental Trading, on different holidays, they have invitations, and one of them was a coffin where you fold together the coffin. I had my daughter doing that, right? So I've got my 11-year-old paying her like $4 an hour, and she was bitching about it, folding together these coffins. And what you could do is you could put a sticker in the coffin, and it's a little square box. They cost like maybe $1 a piece. So it's a little coffin with a little like plastic skeleton in it. And then you open the coffin and there's a sticker on there, and the sticker said, write damn now, go to the website. But see, it gets your attention, right? And so something like that, imagine you're going to do a big Halloween party. And
quite qualify for cookies.
I thought that would be
Yeah.
dead.
You didn't get cookies after Philadelphia? Oh, okay. Well, see there, he's bitching. He's bitching. The other group didn't get cookies.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah. The other guys didn't get cookies. In fact, they probably got a no. Please don't ever freaking contact us again about anything. Here's the deal. Imagine you go to a seminar and you have a doctor and his wife who only want to fight with you on everything for the entire time. They want to pay you money to sit there and argue every point. Exaggeration? No. Every point. And here was the scenario. So, for a while, it's sitting down. There's 4 or 5 of us, but somebody else in here was there, right? In the little Philly seminar? No? But we're sitting there. These guys are doing, at the time, $3 million a year. And the other ones were doing $120 a year, right? And the other ones were arguing every point, and he kept whacking his son, saying, take better notes, and where the hell is the recorder? And so the guys who are doing $3 million a year are hanging on every word, and the other yo-yos were arguing every point. Luckily, Toby was with me, and I said during the thing, not too diplomatically, I said, take these assholes in the other room and get them out of my fucking hair. And so I kept them. But, yeah, I said, never Philly again, for God's sake, these,
It must be something about the Philly cheesesteaks or something.
it's one thing to have somebody who goes, well, I'm not quite convinced. Somebody else who is belligerently both broke and arguing about every point.
Back on point.
Anyway, so, but all of that stuff is relevant because, get on the Oriental Trading list and get the stuff all the time, and then walk through the dollar store and the party store and look. The party stores are great because, there's all the Spider-Man stuff, and there's the superhero stuff, and there's, all of that kind of thing. So you can walk through, and that's where we got the squirt guns. Oh, we also mailed out little trophies. So anybody get the little trophy in the mail? No? Okay. So we had the high dollar schools that got a little trophy, and the headline. Yeah. So all you broke guys, you got a trophy?
Their seminar's next week here.
What? Oh yeah. The trophy had a medal on it. Yeah, that was from the party store. And those were like 60 cents a piece. So it's a priority mail envelope with a trophy and a medal on it. And it said, as you may notice, I sent you a trophy in the mail. That's because you're already a winner, but. Right, and then it went on into more or less like that, right? Probably didn't use the word but I'm saying this because I know you're already a winner. However, but is that making sense? And see I've sat around with 3 or 4 or 5 of the quote unquote marketing gurus in the industry, and one of them said, well, only Oliver can get direct mail to work. It's not that. It's that they're just not willing to be outrageous enough or inventive enough or entertaining enough to get it to work, right?
Best enough.
And that's exactly right. And that's first thing.
I've heard schools actually complain that the postage was too high to send out that many direct mail pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, for 8 years, I've been off and on with NAPA.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, you've nailed me with all that kind of stuff, and I always said I can't afford it.
Right.
That was when I was thinking it was a lot less.
Yeah.
And I finally said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm not even asking the price. You called me up, to take my...
He was saying he can't afford it to $99 a month.
And then he told me the price. I'm like, holy crap, how am I going to afford that? But I did, and I made the money back in the first month and 7 times that.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, well, it's $13.97 a month. And he goes, $13.97 a month? No. No.
But sometimes you got to spend money to make money, and that's where most of the martial artists are so damn cheap, they're never going to make any money.
Well, and all of this stuff, it's about return on investment. See, the amount you spend is irrelevant if you spend $1,000 to get $5,000, you spend $500 to get $4,000. If you have that ratio that's giving you back a 5-to-1 or a 10-to-1 or a 20-to-1. And see, there's no place else you can put the money. I mean, you can take all the quick turn real estate gurus, and they're not getting a 500% return on your investment. It's the only place where you can go out there and spend $500 and almost immediately Because see, I mean, the way we're working the upgrades and everything, really it's the first 90 days. And my internal metric is I'm looking to make the down payment big enough that I self-liquidate the marketing when they write the first check or give the credit card, right?
I think that's how you determined how much the down payment were on those programs.
Yeah, yeah,
On how
seriously.
much you were spending.
Yeah, yeah.
So you recoup that initial investment that time.
Yeah.
That time.
Well, the other thing that people just don't get is again, I've said it many times, I was more or less like the kid born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was broke, but I was raised in the Junior Institute and trained by this guy, both on how to fight, which I was duck a lot, but also how to run a business. And when I started in Denver, this is 30 years ago next year, my initial pricing was $330 down on a new enrollment. Extrapolate that out on the inflation, and that's about $900 now.
Well, most schools were doing 150 or 100, or some of them just say, pay your first month's tuition.
Yeah. I initially was doing $330 down, $75 a month. And you extrapolate that out, that's the equivalent of now almost $1,000 down and about $200 a month, right? So, I mean, that was 30 years ago. And what happened is we got too crowded. I had 2,400 square feet that had 600 active students. And when I started ratcheting up the price, what happened is the activity and the closing ratios went up, right? So I had an economics background. I thought, well, there's price elasticity to demand. If the price is higher, demand will be lower. It didn't work that way. And there's a great book by Cialdini called Influence, Science, and Practice. He explains in the first paragraph of the book. He says, absent other criteria, price determines perception of value. What he doesn't add, but I've discovered, is everybody we interact with wants the best, assuming they can work it into the budget. So they're not looking for the best value. They're looking for the best. And then if they can't afford it, they go to the second option, right? So in our industry, they're always looking for the best. And if you price yourself like you're not the best, then you have a problem with perception and everything else. Does that make sense? Okay, so other questions about direct mail, not staffing, hiring, compensation systems, but other questions about direct mail or how it ties into internet marketing.
How long do they stay in? Till they opt out, or like 12-month cycle, or just?
Well, until they die or threaten us with death if we mail to them again.
You never get anybody complaining about direct mail. They don't say, you're sending me too much, because we all get it from,
Oh, I've had it.
you did?
Oh, yeah. And by the way, the objection that school owners will have about the renewal blitz thing I try to get them to do is they say, why am I going to do all this stuff with our students that's going to piss them off, right? I've had Mrs. Jones, 10 different people at least, come in with a stack of crap that I mailed to them and say, here's how the conversation usually goes. I'm sitting here every class. I've heard the message 12 times. You handed me all this stuff physically. Why did you kill so many trees to mail me all this stuff? It's a real simple answer. Mrs. Jones, do me a favor, because you're the exception. And let me point out something. Look around the class on the average day when Billy's in class. How many of the other parents are here the entire class listening in rapt attention like you are? How many of them do you think opened the first envelope that we sent them? How many of them do you think read the package? And most of the stuff we gave out in class went in Billy's bag. They went and jumped in the SUV, went off, and never saw it. What would you guess the ratio is? Well, don't most of them pay attention to this? No. The fact is, Mrs. Jones, you're in the top 5%, therefore you paid attention to everything. High five. And that's why you're the first one in the thing also, because you're very engaged. However, the bottom 50%, we have to hit them over the head 22 times. And frankly, in 3 months when the price has gone up by 25%, I'm going to have 20% of the students who are mad at me because I didn't tell them. Even though, as you know, we sent them 32 pieces of direct mail, we told them in class 92 times, and we called them, right? So it's an easy explanation in that case. On all his follow-up pieces, by the way, email, you always have an opt-in link or an opt-out link. So now if you're using, whether it's Aweber or Infusion or whatever, Constant Contact, they all give them an opportunity to opt out, right? With text messaging, the automated services all have an opt-out link. So you can hit it or, text back stop or hit the link and then you're not going to get any more, right? With broadcast voicemail, you also are required to have that. So the services have a press 8 to be opted out of the deal. With direct mail, technically there's a do not mail that the Direct Marketing Association will keep a list. In reality is we just leave them on the list forever. One is it's 1 in 1,000 get pissed off, and frankly, that same 1 in 1,000 are going to get pissed off no matter what. So it's now what's their excuse, right? I mean, it's like your student body. You have 1 or 2% of your student body who are going to be mad no matter what you do, right? If you radically improve the program, they're mad because something changed. Again, my friend Keith Hafner, I was talking to him one time, and we were doing a bunch of stuff, and I was lamenting and feeling sorry for myself and said, oh my God, we're doing all these improvements. I got like 5% who are up in arms and mad because we're doing all this stuff. I said, just people don't like change. And what Keith said to me was, he goes, well, I think you're wrong about that. I said, what do you mean, Keith? He goes, that's not it. I said, well, what is it? He said, well, 5% are looking for a reason to be mad. And that's the excuse du jour, right? So we're afraid to go through and renew them all because some people are going to drop out because you're renewing them all. But then if you look at the numbers in retrospect, it was still 5% that month. That was just the excuse they used this month, right? So it's all about numbers. If you know the numbers and understand the ratios, there's always going to be that ratio, right? And as he said, like if we go in and do a gym teacher for the day type of thing, we won't beat them to death on outbound telemarketing because that's what they complain about. But we will beat them to death on direct mail because nobody complains about stuff they get in the mail, right? They're used to getting 3 Victoria's Secrets catalogs a week. They're used to getting beat to death. I mean, hell, if you're on Oriental Trading's list, I get 4 catalogs a month from them. So I get the business catalog and the holiday catalog and the educator catalog. I mean, so they're used to that.
If you do the gym teacher for the day and you offer any of the kids there, if they stop by the school and take a trial program free, you give them a free uniform. How many of those kids want to come to the school? Well, you have to spend a little bit. You have 100 kids that might drop by the school and pick up a uniform and take a class. It's going to cost you. I've actually had school owners. Well, I had so many come by, but those uniforms cost me. I had to spend $1,000 for those uniforms.
$12 a uniform.
And I said, wait a minute. You're complaining because you got 100 people coming in the school. I said you only need one person to sign up, and you made 2,500, and you only spent 1,000. Oh, and sometimes you just have to explain that to everybody.
Your batteries are dead. Is this making sense? Right? Yes, sir.
I got another direct marketing question.
Go ahead.
This would be the inappropriate forum for that, sir.
Could you stay on topic?
Yeah, what the hell getting back on topic?
We were learning something.
Who in here has heard my voicemail on my phone? My new voicemail is going to be, I don't like to talk to human beings, just text me. I give up on email. If you have my voicemail basically says I don't use email, don't use voicemail, don't leave a message. It's amazing how people are like, what? And the IQ test is how many people leave a voicemail on the voicemail that says I don't use voicemail. But go ahead.
I think, I don't know, in the 4 or 5 years we've had our studio, sort of how it is right now, I've got something like 7,000 or 8,000 contacts.
Yeah.
People that I could send stuff to. Obviously, I'm not going to do all of this for all of them.
I'll tell you what you should do with all of them. What you should do with all of them is essentially take that list and do lead gen on the list to get them to raise their hand a little bit again. And then once they raise their hand a little bit again, then you can go through all of this stuff, right? Lead generation. What I mean by that is, and we'll talk about more tomorrow, but one of the things that I'm going to do to the entire industry is basically 8-page letter in an envelope with a stamp, but it's a bulk mail, and then looks like it's handwritten, legal size piece of paper folded, and then it looks like it's a newspaper tear sheet and it's folded down the envelope with a Post-it note. And the cost of that is, I think, 47 cents, 49 cents, and 67 cents, right? So now you aggregate that and you're at $1.60. So you might be willing to put 10,000 into following up with those guys, or you can do, Get Members, or Greg can do color postcards, and so you could do and I always do sequences, right? So I might take 7,000 and do 40 cents a postcard bulk mail, do it 3 times. And now I'm at $1.20. Less effective than I think the other thing, but still I can rake through the entire list and get them to raise their hand. And then once they raise their hand, you either immediately get them in for an appointment or you put them in the other follow-up sequence, right? And most of the way to raise their hand is give them a big free offer gift, okay? And so, you know, a big bonus free offer for going to the website. I mean, our version of that for NAPNA is it's the free video, it's a free copy of the book, it's the free one-on-one consulting. Your version of that could be the free parenting book, the free, you know, I mean, it can be all that stuff. But it's just to get them to raise their hand. And then once you get, so let's say you rake through it, let's say we get 10%, now you got 700 to work with. And now the 700 to work with, you go at them at that if you don't get them into the school right away.